Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gina Wigington, and I'm with Turnkey Realty Group, but I'm also very honored that I am a board member for the South Haven Chamber and the chair for our Governmental and Community Relations Committee. Today, I get the honor of introducing Miss Lynn Fitch. Miss Lynn Fitch was sworn in. I apologize, but I do have to read all this, so y'all bear with me. Lynn Fitch was sworn in as Mississippi's 40th Attorney General and first ever woman Attorney General back on August 9, 2020. She was raised in Holly Springs, Mississippi, North Mississippi girl. Attorney General Fitch also earned both a Bachelor of Business Administration and a Juris Doctorate at the University of Mississippi. At the age of 23, she began her legal career as a Special Assistant Attorney General at the Mississippi Attorney General's Office. She continued her career in private practice as a bond lawyer, accumulating more than 35 years of legal experience, both in private practice and in public service. Before becoming the state's chief legal officer, Attorney General Fitch served as Mississippi's elected state treasurer for 8 years, from January 2012 to January 2020. Prior to that, she was selected by Governor Barbour to serve as executive director of the Mississippi State Personnel Board. My contacts, guys, I apologize. And she served as Deputy Executive Director at the Mississippi Department of Employment Security and as a counsel for the Mississippi House of Representatives Ways and Means and Local and Private Legislation Committee. General Fitch was active on the national level in state treasurer, serving as Vice President for the National Association of Treasurers and as Chair of the State Financial Officers Foundation. She has already served on the Executive Committee of the National Association of Attorneys General, and she is currently serving as co-chair of the National Association of Attorney General's Human Trafficking Committee. General Fitch was selected as Outstanding Woman Lawyer of 2012, recognized as a woman trailblazer by the Mississippi Bar Association, honored as a Mississippi Business Journal Leader in Finance in 2016 and Leader in Law in 2010. She was also named a 2015 honoree of the Women's in Government Leadership Program, give me just a minute, by Governing Magazine in 2017. General Fitch was named one of Mississippi's top 50 most influential, and she was honored with the prestigious Susie Blue Buchanan Award by the Mississippi Bar Association Women in the Professional Committee. Attorney General Fitch has also been active in her community, serving as a member of the boards of several charitable organizations, including First Responders of Mississippi, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, Goodwill Industries, and the American Red Cross. Please join me in welcoming our Attorney General Lynn Fitch to the stage.
Thank you. Wow. Well, good afternoon. It is great to be with you all. Gina, thank you for that kind introduction. I really appreciate that. Debbie, thank you for the invitation to be here with all of you. What a great honor to be with you today. I am a North Mississippi girl, so anytime I get to come home, I'm always glad. My dad, when he was alive, said anything above Highway 82 meant I had to come by Holly Springs and see him. So I always have appreciated that. But I want to say, isn't it a great opportunity for us all to be together, have that beautiful prayer, that beautiful song, your heart, where we got to honor our country, where we pledge our allegiance together. We live in the greatest state, the greatest country on the globe, and we are so blessed. It is so special to be with you all, and I will tell you up front, I am so honored and so humbled to serve as your Attorney General. It truly is an honor of my lifetime to serve in this capacity. I had the pleasure of coming back 35 years later after I started at the Attorney General's office as a young Special Assistant Attorney General to come back. And so to start as an intern, to work there, and then to have all the service in between and to come back and serve for you all in this capacity. Because it is certainly your office. And I want to talk about all the things that have happened in your office and how we're going to work together. But I want to say to each of you, thank you for being here. Thank you for the time that you invest in your communities, in our state. What a difference that makes. Because you all are believers. You believe in the future. You're driving the business engine. You're creating our workforce. You're thinking about the succession plans. You know that we have a better tomorrow in Mississippi when we work together. So thank you for giving of yourselves. Thank you for giving that extra effort when you come to lunch, when you come to the meetings, when you're out doing all the other volunteer efforts, because you are truly making a difference. And that is all because of you. And because, again, you believe in Mississippi and in our communities. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. You have an office at the Attorney General's office where we believe in you. We believe that we work together, we truly will make a difference. From all the wonderful things I've had the opportunities to do and to serve in different capacities in my legal career, one's always been business development. That was always important for me. How do we grow our businesses? How do we work together on our economy? What do we do in our strategic planning for our state? How do we rise to the challenges that we all meet? And you all are here too because you know we have challenges, but you're ready for the job. We're all ready to meet those challenges. And part of it is just acknowledging that we have some issues. But in your Attorney General's office, I took the opportunity when I first got in 2020 to restructure our office because, again, it's your office. Many people don't even know what we do in the Attorney General's office, or they certainly didn't before we got there. But we looked at every angle because I will tell you, everyone in this room is affected by the Attorney General's office. We represent you somehow, some way, or you're a partner, or in the coalition with us. So we all do rally together in some way, form, or fashion. Whether it's the municipalities, law enforcement, first responders, the list goes on and on. But we do work together. I'm very blessed. I've got an amazing team. And as was said earlier, you can't do anything unless you've got a great team working together. Solo don't work. Do not work. Working together, we make a huge difference. So I've got an incredible team of about 300 professionals, about 130 lawyers, and about 75 investigators. Because I'm honored I get to serve not only as your chief legal officer, but as your chief law enforcement officer. And I'm very proud and honored to serve in that capacity and to stand side by side with those who serve in law enforcement. But I want to tell you about some of the priorities in your office, some of the things that we've done, some things that we all continue to work on, and some new areas we must rise and work together with one another. When I got in office, many of you heard me talk about human trafficking. Human trafficking. And most people will still say, do we have human trafficking? Is it in Mississippi? Oh, it can't be. Well, let me tell you, human trafficking is a $150 billion a year industry across our globe, with 40 million individuals being trafficked across our globe. Think about that. That's unbelievable. And most people say, well, human trafficking, are those the 18-wheelers coming across? No. Is that happening? Of course. But it's here. It's here in our community. It's in our state. It's alarming. And we have to acknowledge that. We have to work together. Our message should be to human traffickers, do not come into the state of Mississippi. You are not welcome, and we are protecting our very own. I will tell you, I'm out there with my teams, and we work with our law enforcement, our private, our local, our state, federal partners. We're all together out there rescuing these individuals. We started with training. We've trained over 250 law enforcement officers across our state because, again, we weren't really sure where this path led to us. How many individuals would we find that needed to be rescued? Well, I'll tell you, we rescued about 140 women in the last year. 10% have been minors. And they need us. They need everyone in this room. I need you to be part of this fight. I need you to step up and watch and look for the signs of these victims and how we can help them. Because the reality is, these are primarily young women. They're someone's daughter. They're someone's friend. And they're in this situation not because they chose to be there, but because 50% of individuals, primarily women that are trafficked, are done so by family members or someone that they loved and trusted. Oh, that again takes your breath away. But it's here, and it's on us to rise together and to make a difference. So last year we started the first statewide initiative on human trafficking for all of us. Information for you to look for the signs, to get partners, coalitions involved. And we did just that. And we kicked off the initiative called Be the Solution. So I want all of you to be aware, be prepared, and be the solution. Be that hero that makes the call. That hero that gives us that tip. Because that's how we find these young individuals. And when I say going out there, I go out with my team. These are hard situations. I put my bulletproof vest on just like my team members, and I go in and we take down and we rescue, and we find bad actors. We've arrested over 35 predators, but we find drugs and we find weapons. But yet the most important part is that we rescue. And we help these individuals get back on a pathway back to society without any shame or blame. Because they didn't deserve it and they didn't ask for it. But as we started this campaign, and it's so much of it awareness. I mean, we would never rescue this many people had we not have everybody involved. So we still have this battle, and we're still out there. And last year when we kicked it off, we had an amazing partner with the Department of Public Safety under Commissioner Sean Tyndall. And one of the first things that we thought we could do together, we could train the truck drivers. We could train all of our truck drivers in the state of Mississippi. You know why? Because they see these individuals. They recognize that they're victims and they need help. And so they're the eyes and the ears, and we've gotten a lot of information to be able to go in and rescue. And that was so important to do that. Next, we started training our school bus drivers. Our school bus drivers. Now you say, why would you train your school bus drivers? Because they are the only individuals that sometimes see these children getting off the bus, going to school, their only safe haven. And I'm proud to stand right here today and say, this year, all of our school bus drivers are trained and required to be trained on recognizing human trafficking as this school year started. That's just an incredible venture to have that. So it's on all of us to continue to look and be a part. Call the national hotline, call my office, text it. We've got information out there. It's on the website. But I need you to be a part. because I really like to tell my colleagues, my home team, we're working very hard to eradicate human trafficking in the state of Mississippi. And you can tell by those numbers, we've all been stepping up, but we certainly have to continue to do that. Now, there are a lot of other things that are happening in your office that I want to talk about. And I know I'm very time limited, otherwise we'd be here for a while, because we have a lot happening in your Attorney General office. But let me talk about law enforcement for a moment. And if we have any law enforcement first responders here, thank you. We need to owe them a round of applause. Thank you. These men and women, they give of themselves for our safety, our protection 24/7. There's no break. They're there protecting you and I day in and day out. They leave their families to give of themselves to make sure that we are all safely taken care of. So law enforcement, our first responders, are so key to the growth and how our state thrives. So again, getting to serve as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer is extremely important for me as we work together, again, with us, our local, our federal partners, trying to make a huge difference. So we looked at some areas that we saw that were problem areas across our state, across our country, and we've seen that domestic violence is on the rise. You know, it really was fueled during COVID because the predators were in the home, the ones that were taking advantage of these domestic violence victims, and they couldn't go anywhere. And so it's on us now. We see it. We're able to help to rescue these domestic violence victims. And I'm pretty sure everybody in this room knows someone who's been affected by domestic violence. So we are putting together a domestic violence registry for our law enforcement. For our law enforcement. If you're watching the news, you see the domestic violence. Many times our law enforcement are rushing in to help these victims, and they're being ambushed. We've lost too many good men and women because of these situations. So we recognize if we can put together this registry for our law enforcement, they don't go in blind. They know that this person was a predator before. This person has a history. And that's to protect our law enforcement, it's to protect our victims, and it's to protect the bystanders, the neighbors, and the children. We also serve in a space for cyber crimes, and we serve as the housing unit for the internet crimes against children. You know, I hate to even say that we have to step up 24/7 and monitor these predators, these online predators of our children who are exploiting our children all the time. But we must, because they're our children, and we have to protect them. And again, I hope there's a time I can stand up and say, we don't even have that unit anymore. But we do. Most recently, I was in Starkville. And again, I like to participate in our operations with our partners. We called it Operation Catfish. And we went after those individuals who were online exploiting our children. And we made a number of arrests in that area alone. And we do that across the state because that's part of our charge, part of the protection that we owe everyone. And again, to signify, don't do that in the state of Mississippi. Don't be doing that to our children. Don't be putting them online. Don't be trying to meet up with them, because we're coming after you if you do that. But again, I need you to step up, because you know some of the greatest information we get is from you. If you send to cybertipline.org any information, we're going to check it out, because you may see something. It may be something that just is a clue, and I'd much rather you send in that tip I'd much rather you call us and let us go explore it. Because you know what? It's just like with human trafficking. You may be saving a life that day because you stood up and said, I think there's something off here. So I encourage you to do that. Now, in our cybercrime, we do a lot of other things as well, besides, unfortunately, child pornography and child exploitation. We train investigators in cybercrime from all different areas: bank fraud, businesses that are affected, identity theft. We do all that. It's important because, again, it's important that we represent you all to the fullest capacity. Now, some of the other things that we do that involve all of you in law enforcement, and again, hard topics: opioids. I wish I could say we didn't have the opioid crisis in our state. Unfortunately, we do, just like other states. But again, know that your Attorney General's office, we're pushing hard, not only with our law enforcement, to go after these bad actors that are sending these drugs into our state day in and day out, but I'm also working in the capacity of the opioid settlement, which is millions of dollars to come into our state in abatement so that we can work together to help with the substance abuse, that we can be proactive, and that we can save lives, and we can have the conversation about substance abuse, and we can have the conversation about resources, and we can talk about a better day for those individuals. So we're working on that, and I hope we, in the next few weeks here, have a settlement so that we can start expending those dollars for all Mississippians to not have to deal that. And I'll tell you, that fentanyl is coming across so quickly. Wow, the cartel, they're running the border. We're all border states now, right? All of us in the United States, we're border states. I recently visited the border. I went down there, I watched, I saw it. I saw the people being smuggled across, saw the drugs, and they're here within 48 hours. They're here. We've got to stop it. It's not fair to any Mississippian. We don't need to be a border state. And we certainly don't need to watch Mississippians die because that's come across. We're working in a lot of capacities on the drug front as well. We're looking for ways we can, again, partner. We can get tools out so if individuals do find themselves taking some drugs, they can test it and know that it has fentanyl and they back away. Because fentanyl is a killer. One pill will kill you. So we're looking for every angle in your office on how we can assist and provide individuals, assistance, individuals to not go down that route, and again, how law enforcement, we can provide them the very best. Now, again, in your office, let me tell you a few other things we do, and I'm just kind of hitting on some of the big topics. We have an incredible consumer protection division. Again, almost everybody has been affected by something that has happened in the consumer protection, whether it's your business, whether it's individually, and know that we're there fighting for you. Because as consumers, there are so many areas that affect us. Well, let's see, anybody gotten a robocall? I think they sold my number last month, right? I'm getting them all the time. Does it drive you crazy? Yes. But we're partnering with the Public Service Commission. I just got placed on a task force with 20 other attorneys general. We are really driving at the root of this. When we file suits and we do cease and desist letters and we're taking action, we are trying. It's difficult, but we're continuing to work on that. And scammers, anybody been involved in any scams? Most everybody has heard or seen. We're going after them too. They're taking advantage of our most vulnerable, usually our seniors. So we've been trying to protect as much as we can and to put out as much information about those type of scams. And certainly the calls that come and they ask for money, particularly from our seniors. Now, big tech. I've never been one to shy away from a battle. And I have sued Google twice now and Facebook. And I've got a whole laundry list of some more that I've sent in letters to with my colleagues. Because again, this is your privacy. This is your First Amendment. They should not be able to tell you what you can and cannot say in the public domain in the electronic space. But have they? Absolutely. You know, I put up a great video about human trafficking last year. It was 1 minute and 27 seconds long about, you know, part of being the solution. It was the End It campaign. We did red X's on our hands about ending human trafficking. Put it up on social media. Twitter took me down in about 30 seconds. That's pretty cavalier, right? You take the Attorney General down? They forgot the point that I have a few lawyers on staff. We immediately sued them. It still took us 2 weeks to get back up. Again, they had no right to do that. Again, it's talking about awareness. It's talking about human trafficking. And it was particularly talking about our state and how we get into human trafficking. So I'm going after them on behalf of everyone here. They should never be able to take your privacy. You know, as I said, I'm a business development attorney for sure. I've always believed in economic growth and supported businesses, no matter what size. But if you are a business and you are a bad actor and you are taking advantage of the folks in my state, I'm coming after you. There's no place for a business to take advantage of others. And right now, I'm suing the insulin manufacturers. Many of you may have someone that's a diabetic in your family. You may, probably everybody in this room knows someone that's a diabetic. You don't live if you don't get your insulin. There's no choice. But what's happening across our country? Diabetics are using expired insulin. They're not given the correct dosages, or they're just not giving themselves their medication. And we see them in our hospitals and our clinics. The cost of insulin has risen in the last few years 1,000%. The cost to make insulin is about $20 a vial. The cost has been going down. I'm not playing on this one. I'm going after every manufacturer because every Mississippian deserves to have affordable insulin costs, that they can afford those prices. You know, and as we talk about where we're moving and how we are growing, and again, businesses, and how we see our state moving now and in the future, there was a big step that was taken this year by our legislature, and I am very grateful for this. Because again, if we look at how we're going to be a better Mississippi, we have to look at every angle. And this year, our legislature passed equal pay for equal work for women. Equal pay. That is significant. It's significant to everyone in this room. It says that every woman is valued and a part of the tapestry of the state of Mississippi. That you are important. You're important to the growth. You're important to how our state thrives. And everyone feels like that. Now, we were the last state to pass that, but we have now. We have a 27% pay gap in the state of Mississippi. 27%. So we have a challenge. We can rise to the challenge. We can make a difference because now we have that law to help us do that. And as I thought through that, I know we've been a little slow in Mississippi to come around and take some actions, because when I tell you this, Where were you all in 1984? 1984. A lot of you weren't born, right? Some of us been around for a while. I graduated from law school in 1984. I was 10, but that's the year like Footloose came out, Prince, the old Mac computers, the big buy. That was the first time. Or Where's the Beef commercial? So 1984 was a big year. And it was a big year in Mississippi because the legislature finally ratified the 19th Amendment, the right for women to vote, even though it had passed in 1920. So when I say we've been a little slow to come around, now we got to pick up the pace. Because there are some things that we all have to put on our action list. We have to be dedicated to making some changes, and it's going to require all of us so that we're not 60 years later coming back, that we're not the last state to pass equal pay for equal work. Just most recently, we had an incredible decision come down from the United States Supreme Court, the Mississippi Dobbs case, and we won. We won. So, I want to give you just a little bit of insight into why that's so important to all of us. That case, been sitting at the United States Supreme Court. When I got to office, we had the opportunity, we could either dismiss that case or I could petition to have it put in front of the United States Supreme Court. I immediately said, we're petitioning. We're going to take this up if they will take our case. And it went on for a long time. And they finally picked our case. And normally those cases come down on Fridays. So every Friday we'd wait. They didn't pick Mississippi. We'd wait some more. Still didn't get chosen. But on a Monday, I was coming through the Atlanta airport. My chief of staff called and she said, they've taken our case. I was like, on a Monday? And as I was excited and was visiting with some other people, I noticed my face on every monitor in the Atlanta airport. So note to self, dress good in the airports, right? But what an opportunity for us to be the leader, to be the champion. And when we took that case, again, as I told you, I've got an incredible team. And God puts people where they're supposed to be. We're all doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're all given challenges. But this case was chosen by God with all the right people. And it was Mississippi. I have a Solicitor General, which is a new position. We never had a Solicitor General in the state of Mississippi. That's the person in the division that does all the appellate work, writes the briefs, gets us ready to argue in front of federal court, in front of our Supreme Court in Mississippi. It's a very key office and position we just not had before. My first Solicitor General was so awesome. I'm going to her investiture on Friday because she's a federal judge now, the first woman in the Southern District to be on the federal bench, Christy Johnson. But God puts people where they're supposed to be. I had the opportunity to hire a Solicitor General again. I hired a brilliant, dynamic young man who had never even been to Mississippi. He came to us via California and from D.C. And what a treasure he's been. I mean, again, we have a very expanding Solicitor General office. But a lot of people said, well, you can't do that. You're going to have to outsource, and somebody else is going to have to write your brief, and someone else is going to have to argue. I said, are you kidding? I got great team members. Why would we do that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we wrote the Mississippi brief, and we argued our own case. And so that speaks volumes to the people in the office that work for you, that are there every day. And as we prepared for our oral argument on December the 1st, we had thousands of people on the steps of the United States Supreme Court supporting Mississippi because they believed, just as we do, this was an important issue. And they prayed. You all have prayed. We felt your prayers. We felt the support. Because you don't take on a case of this monumental history changing without the empowerment from all of you, without the prayers and the support. But when we got there, we had a rally, and there were so many thousands of people. Dr. Alveda King kicked it off. We had 36 women speakers. And again, a humbling moment, and I'm honored to have been a part of that, to represent Mississippi. Now, when we came home, it's all been, everything is a strategy. You work on these big cases again. But to get the decision on June the 24th was incredible. Because we asked the court, not only do we think this is a rule of law issue, and it should be looked at that, we ask that it be given back to you, the people, that you should decide how you want to handle abortion policymaking. You elect your senators and representatives. You should have that input. The Constitution said you should have that input. And we asked that it be returned to the people. And it was. And you all get to make that decision. But as that came down, and we asked in our brief to not only look at the issue, but to empower women and promote life. It didn't have to be one or the other. That certainly those could go hand in hand. And that's how they answered us. That's exactly how those justices agreed. So to give you that history, because now we must act. We ask for the job. We ask that the people in Mississippi were ready, that we could stand strong and united once again, and we could empower women and promote life. And they've given us that job. Now it's on us to make good on the job. So what do we all do? What do we do now? Well, I'm going to give you a few hard topics, but we must rise to the occasion to make a difference. Because again, it goes back to the business world, the economic growth, our education base. How do we step in and make a difference? Well, first, we've got to talk about affordable, quality child care. We have got to have that conversation and take action. Because it shouldn't cost more to send an infant and a toddler to daycare for a year than it does to send a student to one of our fine universities and colleges. But it does. So think about that for a moment. It does. And if any of you had to go out and look for child care, you know that your options have been very limited, right? So we have to be creative and find better child care, better quality, better options at a lesser cost. We have to find those solutions. We've got to talk about workplace flexibility options. What can we do that keeps our workforce engaged? You need the workforce engaged. It goes hand in hand with the child care. So what do we do as far as flexible options? Now you think about this. If you're parents of young children, those are the ones that primarily miss work. And it's almost always because of childcare or not having options. Well, we need to address that. We need to keep them working. We need to keep them thriving with their children, because most of the folks that drop out of the workforce are women. We lose our women. So time to have that conversation and take that action. Now this one's a very tough one. A lot of people don't want to have the conversation and they sure don't want to take the action. But we have got to enforce child support. There is no question about it. We have got to enforce child support. Far too long, women have borne the financial cost of rearing children. It has come back to the women. 4 out of 5 individuals that are raising these children, that have custody of these children, are women. 4 out of 5. But 90% of the court orders for people to pay child support are the fathers. We've got to make a difference here. I've been a believer in this for so long. On the Republican Platform Committee years ago, I pushed for language to affirm our moral commitment that fathers bear the equal responsibility of their child. It's not fair to the mothers. They can't upskill themselves. They can't have additional education arenas they participate in because they bear the burden of the finances of their child. But even if you don't look at it from that perspective, every study shows that if a father pays child support, they're much more likely to be engaged in the life of their child. And that's a win-win situation. So a healthy child support enforcement arena makes for a better environment for our children. Right now, there are about 6 million parents across the country, primarily mothers, that are due child support. Less than half ever get full payment. Less than half. So we all have to stop and go, wait a minute. We've got to make this support enforceable to go to the custodial parents. We've got to really talk about how we come up with new mechanisms for income reporting for the parents. Because we're certainly living in a gig economy, and we need to trace that and make sure that those monies go to the right parent to take care of that child. We've got to stop the system of garnishment or figure out how to streamline it, because far too many non-custodial parents, they just change jobs when they have to pay child support. And so who's the loser? The child. Tough topic, one that's a game changer for our children. Another very hard area for all of us. We got to talk about and we got to take action on adoption and foster care. You know, if we're not able to get these children into loving homes and families that are there to love them and nurture them, it's broken. It's broken. We've done a disservice to our children who are looking to us. We've got to make sure we have those foster homes set up, those adoption families ready to go. And no child should be one of those that goes in the category of not receiving any love and compassion and kindness and support. We've got to fix that system. You know, they always say that you can measure the society of how they treat their most vulnerable. We've certainly just talked about our most vulnerable on so many different levels. I believe, as I know you all do, that as Mississippians, we will empower and uplift our most vulnerable, our women and their children. I believe as all Mississippians that we're prepared to give them hope. And as Mississippians, we're prepared to give them lightness when they feel like they are overwhelmed by darkness for themselves and their children. So this is a call to action for everyone in this room. We have to make a difference. You have to talk to your legislators, your policy individuals, your different agencies, and be ready to give. And with that same compassion that we all have, it's time. We recognize that we have an issue and we have a solution. But it takes all of us being unified. It takes us being committed. And I know you all are. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this opportunity that I have to serve as your Attorney General with tremendous people like Tony Geiger, who is here with me today, who is over constituent services. Know that we are here working for you, and we're honored to do so. Thank you so very much for giving of yourselves, and may God bless each of you in all that you do. Thank you.